Okay, this is a project in which we attempted to make wine gums using actual wine. I should tell you right at the outset, this project didn't succeed, but I think failure is also sometimes interesting, so I'm going to put the video up there anyway, and we'll have a look and see what the experiment was like and how far we actually got. So, wine gums. Wine gums are a kind of jelly sweet in fruit flavours, and they don't actually ever contain any wine. And we were having a talk in the office the other day, and somebody said, well, why don't they contain wine? Apparently, the story behind it is they were invented by a guy who was trying to encourage people not to drink wine, so he invented these so they could have an alternative. Not really sure if that succeeded, it doesn't seem like it did. However, we decided it might be quite an interesting thing if wine gums did contain wine. So I'm going to try and make that today. I'm going to make wine gums with actual wine in them. Furthermore, in fact, I'm going to try to make mulled wine gums. So they're going to be spiced red wine flavoured gums. So I'm not just going to soak these in wine. Eva, will you back off, please? I'm not just going to soak these in wine. I'm actually going to make a mould, and we're going to reduce down some red wine, set it with gelatin in moulds which are formed from these wine gums. So I need to make a positive form. What I'm going to do is glue these wine gums onto this board, like so, and then I'll fill this tray with cornstarch. We'll pack it down, and then I'll flip the board over and press it into the top of the cornstarch and carefully lift it up. That will leave a negative impression of these wine gums in the cornstarch. That should hold for just long enough for me to be able to pour the wine and gelatin mixture into the holes and let it set. That's the theory. Let's see if it works. Okay, I reckon that'll do it. Just make sure that the tray is going to fit over the top. It is. Right, time to glue down the wine gums. Those are words I never expected to say in that order. So, bottle of Rioja is going into the pan. I've also got a clementine, which I've quartered, so that's going to go in there. Piece of star anise, a couple of whole cloves, a little bit of this, which is actually pickling spice, but it's fine. It's coriander seeds, allspice berries, a few other bits and pieces like that, a bit of ginger in there. So that's going to go in as well. And I would have preferred to put cinnamon sticks in, but I haven't got any, so I'm just going to put a bit of ground cinnamon in instead. So I need to switch this on, and I'm not actually making mulled wine here. I'm going to make a red wine reduction, so I need to leave that pan open, simmer it down gently until it's a syrup, till it's reduced down to maybe a quarter of its volume. So our wine's simmering away nicely. It smells wonderful. It's reduced down a little bit. I can see it's dropped by about 1 centimetre. I probably will just turn it up a little bit at this point, just to drive off more of that moisture a little bit faster. Okay, so my wine is reduced down to probably about a quarter of its original volume. So I'm now going to strain out all the spices and the pieces of orange. So I think I'll just put that straight into that jug there, and then I'm going to strain it back into the pan. I'm just going to squeeze those clementine segments out to get some of the nice tasty juice out of the fruit. So there we go, that's my red wine reduction. Just have a little taste of that. I suspect that's going to taste rather bitter as it stands. Oh yes, that's really rather bitter, so that needs something to sweeten it. Now, I could use just plain gelatin and sugar, but I'm actually going to use some jelly, some packets of Hartley's jellies. This is how we buy gelatin for desserts in the UK. You may not be familiar with this if you're from another country, so we get jelly in blocks like this. Cut it up and mix it in, usually with boiling water, but I'm going to simmer it in this wine to dissolve it. The easiest way to put this jelly into the wine is actually just to cut it up with scissors like this. Cut it into smaller pieces, and then it will dissolve more readily and melt into the liquid more easily. So there we go, that's the raspberry jelly in there. I'm also going to add a packet of blackcurrant flavour. And just melt in that gelatin. Perhaps we'll reduce it down a little bit more. So we're going to need quite a lot of cornstarch here for this. So I'm going to put my cornstarch in the tray, and I really just need to fill this up to the brim. So I don't know how many packets that's going to take. Let's have a look and see. Meanwhile, over here, the jelly has now melted and dissolved into the wine reduction. Let's give that another little taste now that we've got that jelly and sweetened fruit flavour in there. Oh, now that's a lot better. So I think we will just reduce that a little more while we get our cornstarch mould ready. So last one, we'll just tip in a little bit in the corners where it seems to be lacking. Smooth that all off. Distribute it right into the corners of the tray. Okay, here goes. This is where I try to create my cornstarch mould using my wine gums glued to a board. Here goes nothing. Hey, look at that! That's perfect. So let's try filling these moulds. So I've got my turkey baster here. I'm just going to suck up a little bit of the juice, and here we go. Whoops. Just fill up these cavities in here. I have a feeling these are going to come out more like jelly babies than wine gums, because they seem to be taking on some of the cornstarch coating. Right, I'm going to put those in the fridge to set now. Okay, it's a couple of hours since these went in the fridge and it has not gone well. What's actually happened, unfortunately, is the mixture has been too wet, I think, when it went in, and it's soaked right into the cornstarch, and so we've ended up with, instead of nice well-formed jellies, we've ended up with these monstrosities that are actually not jelly-like at all. They're brittle and not edible at all. They just taste of dry cornstarch. So that's a bit of a disaster. We'll have to get rid of those. I'll save the cornstarch because we can use that for other experiments in the future. However, there was some leftover jelly at the end, so let's just have a little look and see what that's like. The texture is quite firm. Let's have a little piece out and taste it. So that's actually my mulled wine gum. Still a bit too soft for confectionery, really. If we attempt this again, it's going to need to be reduced down more than that. So anyway, let's have a taste of that. Certainly interesting. Quite a complex flavour. It tastes very grown up, actually, because it's not exceptionally sweet. It does taste of wine. Interesting. I think interesting is all I can say about it. It's neither especially nice nor nasty. It's just an unusual taste. That was an interesting experiment, I think. But unfortunately, I think we have failed to make mulled wine gums today. Never mind, the idea is out there. So perhaps we need different moulds, perhaps we need to set the gelatin a bit firmer. So what actually went wrong here? Well, several things I think. Firstly, I don't think I did actually reduce the wine enough. I think I needed to reduce that down to a thicker gel, and then it might not have seeped into the cornstarch moulds. I think also I probably should have let it cool some more, so that when it was going into the moulds it wasn't hot. And I think the heat also made it more liquid and made it more likely to seep into the cornstarch. I think maybe this wasn't the good idea we all thought it was. Insofar as it's pleasant, the pleasant flavours are coming from the blackcurrant and raspberry jelly. The wine, I think where it's been concentrated down and it's concentrated the bitterness of the red wine, it's not unpleasant, it's just probably not really what you expect to have in a piece of gummy candy. So there we go. I hope that was interesting, even though it was really technically a failure. Actual wine gums, or mulled wine gums, didn't succeed this time. Perhaps you've got some better ideas. If you've got some suggestions you think might make this into a viable project, please feel free to comment. Or thumb up and thumb down to tell me if you loved or hated this. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you again soon, and have a Merry Christmas.